Hi, I'm Tiffany, and today we are talking with Daniel. Thank you for coming on the show today and discussing perseverance and how important it is in life. You had an experience with your first job, and tell us the story about that. What happened?
My very first job that I got outside of home, I was with the town of Gilbert. And the only reason why I got hired, and they told me this, the only reason I got hired is because I persevered and I followed up and I showed up in person at the office with my questions of, hey, I submitted this, and hey, did I get the job? My very first job was at the snack bar at the aquatic center, Mesa Aquatic Center, the Mesa Junior High pool. And it was a great experience, and it was a lesson that I learned that, hey, if I just follow through and I persevere and I am dedicated to asking until I get a no, you can achieve what you want in life. You can get what you want just by asking the question, just by following up, and just by dedicating yourself to what's happening. Where's this at? What's the status update? I was probably 14. I think that I was able to be hired before I didn't have a license. In fact, I know for a fact I was definitely not 16 because I would get a ride to work. I couldn't drive myself yet. So it was definitely before I turned 16. And so it was just so critical. It's so important to me, just the lesson of perseverance. When you follow through with things, you can get what you want. If you're looking for that job and you show up face to face and you're actually dedicated, it shows the employer, oh, wow, this is a go-getter. This is a person that's going to get after it, and they're probably going to be a good fit for us.
I receive, oh my goodness, so many resumes every day because we have advertising up all the time for new employees. And the ones that stick out to me always are the ones that calls, hey, I submitted an application. Where is my application at? Can I come in and meet you? Can we talk? Those stand out more than all the resumes I see, And so what I'm understanding from you submitted an application. After you submitted an application, you walked up to the town of Gilbert and you went in and you said, hey, I want to get this job. What do I need to do? So not only did you didn't just call, you went face to face. And that right there is a whole new level. Because you didn't just want to call, because how easy is it for someone to hang up or say, oh, well, okay, I don't want to go any further with this. But when you go face to face, all of a sudden, you put a face to it, you put an opportunity to it, and you show them your dedication and your discipline to actually get something and receive something.
And by showing up, I didn't have an appointment, but I think the second time I showed up when they were like, oh, this guy's serious, they pulled me back and just did an impromptu face-to-face meetup, and with my boss at the time. And over 20 years later, we would run into my first boss. In fact, I introduced you to him at the aquatic centers that our kids were taking swim. They were doing the swim team and dive team, and he would show up because he's still the supervisor with Parks and Rec. And I introduced you, and then it turned out our oldest son Logan was at the same grade as one of his children, his oldest son as well. So small world. And it's great to run into those type of people. But the point is, yes, by showing up, you put the wheels in motion of what's good to come.
But what you said is, not only because you made an impression on this man, you also created a friendship with this man. Meaning you've created a friendship through years, even after you stopped working there. Now, I was reading a book this morning, Steve Jobs, and one of the things in his life completely astounds me because I don't know anybody that's ever been able to do this. He went to Reed College, and he didn't want to take the classes that they required because he thought they were stupid. Exactly what he says in his book. And he went in and said, I don't want to take these. I don't want to take these. Well, the dean thought he was so different but so extraordinary that he allowed him to drop out of college and still go to college and not pay tuition and just go to the classes he wanted to go to.
Well, they set it up that he was auditing the class type of thing. But yeah so he'd audit the class.
He got to audit the classes. So I thought it was very interesting. So you talk about that. If you're not willing to ask, the answer is no, right? But if you're willing to ask, you never know. They might say yes. Another thing, he was working for a company and he wanted to go to India to go find a spiritual guide. And instead of just going, he went to his boss and he said, I want you to pay for it. I want you to pay for it for me to stop working for you and going to India to find a spiritual guide for me because this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
And his boss said, you're crazy. But then he thought, you know what? I have an issue here. I wonder if I could send him over with a chip and he can figure out the solution for me and then he can go on. So the boss came back to him and said, you know what? I have a problem. I'll get you to Europe. And
Germany, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, and so it'll be closer for you, but you got to figure out the problem first. So just because Steve Jobs asked, he got somewhat of a yes answer. Not all the way, but he got closer to it. So the question is, and the most important thing is, you got to be willing to ask. How many times as children or grown-ups even, we're afraid to ask. We're afraid to go that step forward to put our face out. And we're afraid to get a no, when in reality, you might get a yes.
You don't know what you're missing until you ask. It's a true principle, ask and you shall receive. Knock and shall be opened unto you. The scripture is true. It really is. I mean, you don't know until you ask. You don't know whether the door will be open until you knock, until you ask it to be opened.
You got to be able to persevere. You got to be able to go that step further. And one thing that you always say, what do you have to lose? Your answer is already no if you don't ask. Your answer is already no if you don't put your face in front of the company and say, hey, I want this job. If you don't get that interview. Your answer is already no if you want something that you don't ask for the candy bar as a kid. Your response to me was, when we first dated, what do I have to lose if I don't ask her out? You know?
It's true. You got nothing to lose.
You know,
You got nothing to lose. You don't have the girl now. Why not ask her out? All she can do is, deny you and reject you and say, forget it. It's like, okay, until you go through that, you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. You have nothing to lose. Well, it's like, you don't have the girl now. So, okay.
It transpires throughout all life. Whatever you do in life, if you're not willing to ask, your answer is already no. You've already gotten the failed. So you shouldn't have fear to ask, because then all of a sudden you got a 50-50 chance. If you don't ask, you don't have any chance. But at least if you ask, you got a 50-50 chance of getting what you want, and then you can persuade and sell them to get you what you want. And reading these books has been amazing to me to see all the CEOs out there have this quality. They don't care. They will ask and they will get what they want. And most of the time, they started with asking as a janitor, as someone that's not even in the job, to get where they want to be.
They give an explanation. They're there. They show true interest, and people see that. They see right through that to say, "Oh wow, this guy's genuine. This guy's sincere. They actually want to help out or contribute," and then they get what they want. Going back real quick to my story with my first boss and working at the snack bar. Every time I've seen him now, over 20 years later, he still tells the stories of when I used to work there.
You wouldn't have had that experience, and you wouldn't have created those relationships or those memories that you've created if you didn't persevere at the beginning. If you didn't have that dedication and the desire to get a yes, to get the job, the memories that you made at that, you tell those stories always, because it's such an impactful part on the memories or who you are today. So you can't be afraid to go after your dreams or go after a job you want or to go after the girl you want, because you're losing out on memories as well. You're losing out on the opportunities. You're losing out on who you could become. And that's all from the first step of persevering into what you want.